go ahead and call to order. It is 7:02 p.m. on the 18th of April 2024. And start by taking roll.
Right, Mr. Bellerive,
Present.
Mr. Teagarden,
Present.
Ms. Mogadam,
Present.
and Mr. Neighbors. All right, Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And has everyone received and reviewed a copy of our agenda for the March 22nd meeting?
I have.
I have, and I move that we accept it.
Second.
And no discussion? Then let's put that motion to a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I feel like I definitely called that out of order, didn't I?
I think you're good. You could either call
Okay.
for a vote or, yeah, or if there's unanimous consent, whichever you choose.
Okay. And otherwise, we have today's agenda up on the screen. Everyone had an opportunity to review that as well.
I think that's what we just approved, right?
I think I accidentally called the previous meeting.
I think you approved the agenda. I mean, the minutes from the last meeting, but we do need to approve the agenda, so we can go back to that one.
Correct. So rolling up the calendar to item 3 for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
And any objection? I don't object. So approve with unanimous consent. And we have on our consent agenda forms for board review. Does anyone have items in this that we would like to see pulled out of the block?
Well, if I can offer this to go over and to start it off, I would move that as a block we accept all at this time that do not have a conflict of interest stated in the document, that are signed, and those that may have a digital signature that doesn't appear to be there are confirmed by the municipality for acceptance.
And is there a second?
I'll second that.
And I'm seeing Mr. Neighbors is now joined as well.
Yes.
And Forrest, did you catch that motion?
Yes.
Perfect. So if there's no objection, so moved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Seeing and hearing none, so moved. And with that motion, do we have any that we want to address individually at this time?
Which one was it that you were concerned with, Kelly?
So I was looking again, and it's I believe it's Julie Jensen or Jessen, and she marks that she or immediate family member, and then she marks no, that could the performance of your official duties in any way affect the entity's business with the municipality. But then there's like a letter afterwards, and I'm not.
I believe the letter afterwards is for the Alyssa, is it?
That's
Yeah.
where I got confused.
Alyssa
Okay.
Alyssa Roundtree is for the letter. And that's
Okay.
on the next one.
Okay. Then never mind. I do not have an issue.
Looking down through the other ones.
I guess I did want to take a moment to speak to item S, that was Don Thornley.
Daniel, this is Paul. Before you talk about that, Patrick will probably speak up on this one too, but I think it was before you joined the board. There's a whole advisory opinion on that issue where he requested an advisory opinion last year. I think Patrick wrote it, and
Okay,
so it was thoroughly discussed in the advisory opinion. So he probably didn't write all the details out in his disclosure, but I understood him to just be, restating the stuff that he'd already requested an opinion on.
Yeah, and we advised him on what procedures to go through and how to handle that situation if it were to arise.
perfect. And I think we'll need no further discussion on his.
I would move that we accept the remainder as a consent item for approval.
I will second.
And is there any opposition to unanimous consent for approving these as a block item? And seeing and hearing none, approved with unanimous consent? And no unfinished business for today's meeting. And on to new business, the annual report of the board.
So I had a couple comments. I'm not sure. So I printed it out and I'm not sure if it's just from how I printed it. This is super minor, but in B, the table that's included for the comparison of 2023 to past years, the 2021 column, and this is just me being really nitpicky, but if it could be widened a little bit because the one from 2021 shows up on the line below.
Sure, I can fix that. I hadn't, some of the formatting things, yeah, I was using the old template from the old report, and it's a
Yeah.
real beast to work with the way
Yep,
that it's.
I noticed that.
So I'll make sure that's fixed. And then the
And then-
signature.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
go
go
ahead. The only other thing I had is on the disclosures of economic interest. We state that we had 63 additional disclosures, or 63 disclosures, which is very high compared to the prior years. And I'm wondering if we should add, because I know a lot of new commissions were created, and that's part of the reason why our disclosures were a lot higher. And I'm wondering if maybe in that paragraph we could add, X amount of new commissions were created and therefore created the necessity to approve additional disclosures of economic interest.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I could definitely add that.
And then that's all I have.
And Kelly, just kind of responsive to your look at formatting, because I'm looking at my printed version and seeing, well, I did notice formatting issues. Pulling this up in Word instead of through the preview in the email did appear to just resolve all of the formatting issues I was having.
I would move that we accept the 2023 Board of Ethics Annual Report as written.
Were we as written or with Kelly's proposed amendment?
I'm sorry, I thought it was primarily formatting. I'll amend that. I'll move that we accept the 2023 Board of Ethics Annual Report with the amendments from Kelly.
And is there a second?
Well, I would add to that I think with the addition that I discussed, I think at least the chair and vice chair should review the additional language.
Okay.
And just confirm that it's, correct and everything.
Agreed. Okay,
Does that
so
work?
I guess
I amend my motion with the review of the chair and vice chair.
I will second that motion.
and is there any objection to approving this with consent? And hearing and seeing none, motion carries with consent.
So this is Paul. I was just kind of mention briefly what happens with the annual report now. So last year, well, per the code, it goes to the rules committee first, and then the rules committee can just forwards it on to the remainder of the assembly. So in the past, Becky has appeared at the meeting and kind of talked about it, or just to kind of introduce herself, answer any questions that the assembly members have. Last year, she was not available when the meeting came up. I went instead. If I remember correctly, Assembly Member Constant had a few questions, but there was nothing really substantive or no discussion about that. And then for the assembly meeting itself, when it came up, it was just a consent item, so it never got discussed. I just had to be available when the meeting was, when it was taken up, just in case they did have any questions. But I was going to mention, if anybody wants to, wants to appear when they review this, or, if you'd like me to handle that, whatever you guys decide.
Do we know the date that that's going to occur?
No, it has to get submitted to them first. So, Carissa, you might know how long that takes, or when the next available time it could go to the rules committee, but I think it would be, last year it was probably a month or two afterwards.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd probably be right.
Okay, I think if somebody were to appear, I would think it would need to be either me or Patrick, since the other members are new. And I like I said on the last meeting, I have a crazy schedule right now. I'm working over like 300 hours a month. And I'd be happy to take any questions by phone or be available if depending on the date. But otherwise, Paul, I think you can there's nothing crazy we handled in the last year.
No, I agree. It should be fairly simple. And since they got last year's too, they're kind of expecting the same thing. So I don't think there'll be any further questions on it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy to do it if my schedule is open for that. So if just keep me posted on the date and time and then we can go from there.
Sure, we can do that. So when it gets scheduled or when it gets put on the agenda, we can just let all the board members know, when it's going to be, and then if anybody wants to show up, they can. But I'll plan on being there regardless.
Okay, that's perfect for me. I can't speak for everyone else.
My nodding is a little harder to hear via Teams.
I'm out of the state for 2.5 weeks in May and 3 weeks in June, so I doubt I would be available. But so I'll be available for meetings by telephone for the board meetings, but not to go to anything most likely.
I think we could probably also gauge it too. I can see when their next few rules meetings are, and then we can kind of put that out to you guys and see if you could attend any of those, if that's an option you'd want to choose as well. Because I don't know that I know we need to get it submitted this year, but it's not like deathly urgent or something, I don't think.
Yeah, I think an email maybe to all the board members with the options and kind of what it's looking like would be great. And then, Patrick and I can both respond to the email with what our availability is. And if we're not available, I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think it would be best practice if one of us could be there.
I agree.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And I don't know what their agendas are for their meetings, so we might have to wait anyways. So we can definitely look and see what the options are.
Sounds good.
And do we have any further member comments? Hearing and seeing none, move down the calendar to audience participation, and I'm seeing no audience as well, correct?
Yep, I think you're correct, Chair.
And then finally, on to the date and time of our next meeting.
I think we decided the third Thursday at 7. That's what we're on right now. Does that work for everybody tonight?
That should work for me.
That should work for me as well.
And for me.
Same here.
And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
And we can take that one to a vote.
Aye.
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 And the ayes have it.